Apple recently released their long-awaited iPad, a device to bridge the gap between the iPhone and the laptop. But does it really do justice to all the hype? We speak to the one person who actually held the device, digital life editor Grace Chng, to find out more. Also in studio, Julian Wong, an academic staff who has worked extensively in IT and related industries.
Can you give us some flavor of the event?
Okay, you know, like all Apple events, they are highly secretive. So you don't know whether they're going to invite the press or not. And when I was at CES in January in Las Vegas, there was already a lot of talk about January 27th being the launch date of the iPad. So when I returned to Singapore, I asked Apple, you know, is there going to be a webcast? Can I follow the webcast? And the response was, I will check and I'll let you know. It was only afterwards that I found out that they knew that there was going to be an invitation to press, and it was so secretive that they had to like quietly book the tickets, you know, reserve the air tickets first. Yeah, so I was fortunate to be only one from Singapore media to go to this event. And usually there are about 5,000 people in the hall. This time round it's a much smaller auditorium.
So how many people were there?
There are about 300 over people, mostly journalists and guests. So what happens is that in the morning you get up early and then you walk to the center, and then if it's very cold, and it is cold in January, and you kind of freeze outside for about an hour or so. And then in this instance there was no foyer, so we were all outside for about an hour, and people were all really excited. You can see people taking pictures, and these were journalists, you know, taking pictures, doing video, twittering, and so it was quite interesting. So we waited for about 40 minutes before we started to move into the auditorium, and then we waited for Mr. Jobs to come along, and there was a lot of excitement, you know, you can feel about people talking to their friends about what this was going to be, you know.
Do you think, like, you know, when he came out with the 10 commandments thing, not since the commandments have been written on it, there been so much hype about tablet, do you think that was too much?
I think everybody was just excited to see him alive. Thin but alive.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think there was a standing ovation for about, well, not a standing ovation, but the clapping went on for a good few minutes.
Yeah.
You know, they was just happy to see him.
Okay. On that note, okay, do you think there are too many like people in the room who are inclined towards like Apple products? You know, too fawning in that sense, not objective enough. Do you think so? Like this sort of, because the hype is so good that, you know, people start becoming like, you know, part of the whole, get carried away, you know?
Yeah, but I think if you look, if you do a Google search, I'm sure it's like 20-30 million hits by now, right? But I think there's a fair balance of people who like it and who don't like it. So there are criticisms, you know. So but Apple is about the only company that when it launches something like this, when it has a product launch, that everybody wants to go. For the event itself, there was limited space, so not everybody was invited. Waiting outside was just press who hope that there is extra space they can squeeze in.
Yeah, I saw footage of people waiting outside, and they're
just hoping to get in, you know. And no other company can do that. Not even the IBM, and not even a Sony can do that. So this is an event where people actually will queue, you know, to get in. Okay,
so what was your first reaction when you saw the iPad, or you know, like after he announced the figures and then, you know, he reviewed the iPad? What's your first reaction? Well, it's like all Apple products. It's sexy, it's slim, it's thin. I think the first thing that when you see an Apple product, you want to buy, you want to own it. So that's the first reaction. And then when he showed you know, what it looked like, I think the thinness of it, I think that's very compelling. And then of course the user interface is very nice. Do you think the fact that people want to buy it is a result of like Apple's very, you know, extensive or very good marketing? because they market their products really well, very sexy, very alternative kind of thing.
I think the first wave of buyers and the early adopters will always be the Apple fans. Yeah. And people who have started using the iPhone and the iPod Touch because they know what it is like, and the interface is very much like those two products. The fact that it is instant on, just one button and the thing comes on, there's no boot up time, just all this is familiar to the iPod Touch and iPhone users. So I think that these might be the first wave of users.
Okay.
But I think the product is not, in my mind, not particularly well positioned at this time yet for people who really want to buy it. So is it going to be an entertainment device, or is it going to be an e-reader? Is it going to be something that I can lounge in my chair, my sofa, or in my bed to use it and read it? I'm not certain yet. What it is going to be. So I would rather wait.
Hear more details why Grace feels that way, as well as what Julian thinks in our next clip.